Hello and welcome to another episode of Espresso with Erin and Sarit. Today we're going to be talking about the mind that is weight loss and body transformation. As you can see here, there's an empty chair. And there's an empty chair because the lovely one and the only Miss Sarit is going to be here in just a moment. We actually have a very special guest today, and she's having some technical difficulties getting in. So for your viewing pleasure, Sarit has stepped out so that she can join us in this amazing, amazing interview that we are going to have. So if you've ever experienced, during your weight loss and body transformation journey, mental fuckery that gets consumed up here with whatever it is, the nutrition, the workouts, why do I feel like binge eating? Why do I want to eat when I'm not actually hungry? And all of these things that happen in our minds. Can you put in the comments MF? You know what that means? It means mind fuck for people who don't want to swear. MF. Okay, put it in the comments and I see who you are. Before we bring our guests on, I can see that she's been able to jump in, so that's amazing. Sarit, I'm guessing, will be joining us in just a second. You guys are going to want to be here for this. You know when you ever meet somebody, when you meet somebody and immediately you're like, where have you been all my life? That is who is about to join us. And I know that you are going to feel the same way. So I'm extremely excited for her to jump in. And I see you guys right here. Yes. Diane, so good to have you, girlfriend. I see Kara's in the house. Michelle's in the house. So amazing. Okay. So, when you're going through this journey and it's like, why can I not get over these things that could, like, either food obsession, thinking about your next meal when you're eating your current meal, right? Like, anybody been there? I've been there. Like, what's for dinner? And I'm eating breakfast. So like, does our mind play tricks on us? Are there ways for us to really take over and understand what's happening in our minds so that we have the tools, we have the power, we have the belief in ourselves to overcome these crazy challenges that we have on the weight loss journey, or any journey for that matter, whether it's better in your relationships, your finances, your career, whatever it is, the mental component of it all is really where it starts. Your thoughts create your actions create your habits create your reality. So I will let Miss Sarit, welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome. We've had a great time so far. And I'll let you introduce our special guest so we can get this party started.
Did you tell a dad joke?
No, but I think I said some funny things. Did I say anything funny, guys?
Okay. I'm waiting for a response from you guys. Otherwise, I'm not getting started.
She wants to know if I'm funny. Tell her yes.
They're saying hey.
Always.
Our guests are like, you guys and your community. What are you guys doing? We just like to have fun. Okay. Hysterical.
Yes.
Of course she is. Erin is amazing.
Classic.
Okay. So today, you guys, we have a very, very special guest. We've met this incredible human a couple weeks ago. And before we actually...
Couple weeks?
Yes, a couple weeks ago.
A couple months ago. We really deeply connected a couple weeks ago.
Well, it depends on how you look at a couple of weeks ago. A couple of weeks.
Introduced, met. I saw you. I know who you are.
Either way, before we even got to know her story, I'm like, I know that we're going to need to introduce her.
We really got to know her story a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, to our community. And then we actually learned about one another at a deeper level. I'm like,
yes, where have you been all my life?
Yes. So super excited to introduce you to Ashleigh Di Lello, the founder and creator of bioemotional healing, a revolutionary method based in neuroscience. Super smart. So better put on your smarty pants on today. that helps her clients around the world finally break free from emotional trauma, limiting beliefs, anxiety, and chronic pain to thrive in their lives. By the way, you guys, if emotional trauma, limiting beliefs, anxiety, or chronic pain, you know that it's been something that's holding you back, let me see you drop a yes in the chat just so that we know, because I know that you're going to drop a yes, but let me see you drop a yes. Despite being told by doctors that she won't live past her teenage years, you guys, she refused to give up and discovered the secret to rewiring the mind-body connection. She became an elite athlete, TV and Broadway star, entrepreneur, mind coach, and keynote speaker. Basically, anything is possible if you set your mind to it. But don't let us tell you that. Let her tell you that. So today we're going to be talking about the healing powers of the mind and how to will yourself to defy all the odds, regardless of our circumstances, to achieve whatever it is that you truly desire. So that being said, without
further ado, if you have anybody in your life who will want to watch this video because you know that they're going to benefit from it, click the little share button and give a little share. Okay. Now, really, without further ado, I thought she should be called a doctor because it rings really well. So we'll call it unofficial Dr.
Ashleigh Di Lello.
Oh my gosh. I do like the ring of that. And can I just say, like, this is the best energy ever. Can I somehow show up in your room for even just 5-10 minutes every morning?
You're here.
Energy is amazing. I'm here. Yes. We had some technical, because that's just, you know, resistance to the things that are good sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
We had to will it.
We had to will it. We had to will it. And I'm so excited to be here. Wow, what an introduction. I'm honored. When I met you, I was like, I need to, you know, have these people in my life. So I'm excited to be here.
Super excited to have you here. Okay, so let's go back to when it all started. I remember when we got to know one another at a deeper level. I'm like, okay, so with what you do, like, nobody just like wakes up one morning and says, oh, you know, like, I think I'm gonna totally get into like neuroscience and figure out, you know, like all the healing powers of the mind. So like, what's your story? And,
yeah,
you know, like, I want you to begin by sharing your story.
Okay.
Where'd you come from?
Where did I come from? Well, the thing about what I love about you guys and I love is that my whole life was really about utilizing my body to do what I loved, right? I had just a passion for dance. I started dancing at 3, 5 hours a day at 7. Like, it just was something I was so driven, felt born to do, and was the epitome of health. In fact, my nickname was the Energizer Bunny because I seemed to never run out of energy. And then that completely changed overnight. I went really from just health, 5 hours a day of dancing, loving life. I was only 13. And then overnight I woke up and had pain in every joint and muscle. I could hardly move. And I remember, because I was supposed to go to a dance convention all day. And I woke up and you couldn't even touch my elbows. I couldn't even do like a basic, what we call plie, but it would be like a mini squat in the exercise. And it was like, what happened to me overnight? Because that's what it was. And that was the first day of 4 years where I would fight between life and death. And I was a mystery. And I think that's the hardest. Yeah, 4 years. We went to doctor after doctor. It got so bad. I lost like the majority of my hair. My skin was yellow from my liver shutting down. I got down to 90 pounds. I looked like a prisoner from Auschwitz. Like, it hurt me to sit against chairs because they were so hard and my spine was protruding. All the pain, I got so exhausted. I couldn't even lift a finger some days. And that is really, I feel like I know what it feels like to almost be dead, because I used to tell my mom, I don't even have the energy to lay here. It's like I was exhausted just to breathe.
Wow.
But this was where I really started to obviously intricately understand how powerful the mind-body connection is. because I also feel like if I had said, okay, this is it, my body was so close to not being here, I could have literally allowed myself to die. And in fact, I felt so close that there were many nights I wouldn't go to sleep. I would will my body to stay awake because I felt like if I surrendered that conscious will to live, to keep fighting, my body wouldn't make it. And I had this fear that I wouldn't wake up.
Wow.
So that had a profound impact on my nervous system, as you can imagine. And that led me to my work later. But this also, again, profoundly showed me how powerful our mind is and its connection to the body and our will and our beliefs. And I know I shared this with you guys because the doctor told me, you're not going to live past your teenage years, never live an active life, never dance again, never have children, never get married. And you need to accept this. And the sooner you accept it, the more you'll come to peace with your reality. And I wouldn't. And so they sent in a psychologist to talk to me, this 13-year-old girl, to help me accept that I was dying. And they literally told me I was living in denial. And I remember looking at her, and thankfully I was born a Spitfire because I can't fathom now going back as a 13-year-old girl. And I remember telling her, listen, I know I'm dying even more than you do. Like I can feel it. But I also feel deep down inside, if I accept I'm dying, that any chance of survival is gone. Yeah. And, this was 27 years ago. So this is before this and podcasts and social media and YouTube and all the information that we're exposed to. It didn't exist then. So I had no idea about neuroscience or the mind-body connection. I just had this deep belief inside to not accept the limitations I was being told were now my life. And it was a long journey. It was a long journey. And that's a long story in and of itself. But every day I would just say, and I remember I felt like a liar because I would look in the mirror and I'd be having to hold myself up. And I would say, I'm healing. Like I'm healing every day. I'm healing. And I think a lot of people, the power in that is not saying it's true in this moment. And I think that's where a lot of people don't like affirmations because it's like, oh, I'm lying to myself. And our brain does have a BS radar where it's like, I'm sorry. No. Right. So it's like, I'm not healthy. So I couldn't declare that. That would have been a complete BS. Right. But I'm healing. And I just continued to believe in the body's innate intelligence to heal. And then, of course, I did all the things with nutrition and to support my immune system. And it was a long, long journey of being able to walk from my bedroom to the bathroom, to down the hall, to around the block, right? And then when I defied the odds and I got my life back, I was so weakened from everything I'd gone through. I didn't have the strength to dance. And that's when I was introduced to strength training, because now I had to strengthen my body to do what I loved again. And I fell in love with it because of what was possible. I went from so weak, not being able to lift a finger, to struggling to lift a 1 pound weight, which, that's hard on the ego, because at that point, right, even though I'd been through so much, I felt like, a 19-year-old girl who can't lift a 1 pound weight. But it's like, it didn't matter, right? I was about progress and stripping that ego, which I know we all have to do in certain times and places, and really embracing the capacity of my body to get stronger and grow muscle and get more functional. And that's so empowering, as I know you guys completely live for and teach, is that really when you empower your body and you start to feel more strong in your life, it changes everything also, right? There's that feedback loop between the brain and the body, but also the body to the brain. And so here I go, I get my life back. I'm a personal trainer because I loved it so much. I go back to dancing. I have a professional career, an amazing professional career on TV shows like So You Think You Can Dance. My husband and I headline a Broadway show, 8 shows a week, which just is hard on anyone, but just so miraculous for my body. Top of the mountain, like I did it. I defied the odds. And then I got knocked down again. and had a hip surgery in 2016 that failed massively and launched my whole body into chronic pain. So I went from my strongest self, feeling like a machine, feeling powerful, to not being able to walk, not being able to even hold a book without nerve pain shooting through my body, can't hold my 2-year-old daughter, lost my professional career. And it's like deja vu. But this time I'm a business owner, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. I have a lot more responsibility on me than I did as a teenager. And again, I'm a mystery, which is just so great, right? I'm going to all the doctors, I'm doing all the tests, everything in Western, Eastern, functional, alternative, holistic, and nothing's working. And they tell me my nervous system flipped a switch into pain. And this is my life now, right? I'm diagnosed with things like fibromyalgia and a whole bunch of other syndromes that I can manage the rest of my life. And after trying everything and it not working, I really got to the most, I think, desperate I've ever felt in my life, which is saying something, because living in hell with pain 24 hours a day will strip you of every part of your soul. You know, you're not sleeping. You can't do anything you love every moment of every day. It's hard to be present because you're just trying to manage pain. It was stressful on my family. It was like, what is this point, right, of just suffering? But getting to that place is where I realized if I can't find the answer outside of me, I'm going to figure it out, because I've learned already once in my life we're powerful. And so I thought if my nervous system flipped a switch into pain, I'm going to figure out how to flip it back. And that's when I dove into neuroscience and pain science and the mind-body connection and all the pieces that alter our brain and nervous system and get it stuck in stress. And for me, that manifested in pain. Other people, it's anxiety, it's depression, it's those limiting beliefs they can't get past. Whatever it is, the brain and nervous system are the root, but then they're also the key. And so I created a process called bioemotional healing to rewire that stress and all the pieces and rewire pain. And it gave me my life back. And now I've been coaching people through it for 4.5 years.
So good.
Here we are.
Drop an I if you are inspired.
Okay, you just like unpacked so much. And I took a couple of notes that are so relatable for our community. And I know for the people that are watching and about to drop all their eyes because they are inspired. I'm inspired. You know, here's some of the lessons that I pulled out of everything that you said. You can believe what you tell yourself or what other people tell you. And you can allow other people tell you to be what you believe and what you tell yourself, or you can tell yourself something completely different that you want. And the power of your will is so much more powerful than what anybody else could say to you, as long as that's what you choose.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is when you go for what you really want, no matter how crazy your dreams may seem, people will call you crazy.
Absolutely.
And that's when you know
100%.
you're playing big.
Yeah. You know, and even the people who love and care for you. And that's
100%.
right. Because everybody speaks from their own inner dialogue, their own limiting beliefs. And so if you're trying to step out of yours, it's also challenging theirs. Right. Yes. And if they're not ready to look at that, then they're going to project it onto you. And they're not even always conscious of it. But we all feel safer if you're limited, I can accept I'm limited. And then I don't need to face, you know, how I'm holding myself stuck. And what people need to understand is with what you said, and this is neuroscience, this is not anything we have to believe. It's the fact in how the brain is wired. It is wired to validate our beliefs every day. It's wired to seek evidence. It's wired to communicate the body, to create symptoms, to create barriers. That's the brain's the command center. So our beliefs are the bodyguards around our reality, around our body, around what's possible. And so that saying we all hear, you know, you are what you think about. Oh yeah, whatever. No, it is the truth in also our physiology, right? Whatever you speak about yourself, what you speak about your body, right? People keep saying really limiting things about their body and expecting a different result when all day those neurochemicals, stress hormones are being sent into your body because of what you're thinking and saying and believing. And here's the thing that's hard. All the limiting beliefs we've all had, they're pretty validated based on what we've experienced, right? So of course it's like, well, yeah, of course I believe this. This happened, this happened. And your brain has that data bank of memory. So in a nanosecond, if you've ever tried to challenge your beliefs, you've probably had that internal dialogue where your brain's like, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And remember when you felt this? And remember when you tried this? And all the things, because the beliefs we have come from our experiences or from people we love who have then, yes, projected their own. And so we have to have some compassion with why they're there, but then say, yeah, but I don't want to continue to be defined by my history, right? I want to create a new future, a new present. So I've got to start to really be aware of what am I believing? And even if I feel it, here's the question I always tell my clients, because you might be like, yeah, I feel this way. Yep. But what do you want to be true in your life? So our limiting beliefs, just ask that question. Well, do I want this to be true?
Yeah.
That I can't, that my body can't, that this isn't possible? And 100% of the time it's like, well, of course I don't want this to be true. Well, okay. Well, then stop affirming it.
So you get to choose your bodyguards. And some of us need to hire some new bodyguards.
Absolutely. And it takes diligence.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might need to process and sit through the events, the emotions, the people, the trauma, the circumstances that are connected to that belief, because your brain and body will have a hard time letting it go if you still have unprocessed crap that you're holding onto. So that's definitely a crucial part, especially considering how impactful the thing was in your life that created that belief. But then every day we know that the brain only changes through consistency. So you not only have to speak it, you have to, like I tell my clients every day, okay, if this is what I'm speaking, this is what I want. What is one action step then that I can take today in alignment with it? Even if it's one, but if I'm doing that every day, I'm now starting to build evidence to my brain that validates this new belief, which over time starts to combat all the past evidence, 100%. Right? So it takes diligence, but like, why wouldn't we? Because then we start removing those bodyguards and then possibility really starts to open up.
Yeah. And, the other thing that I thought about so much when you were a teenager, like there's this innate, like there's this part of us that we're born with where we know what we know. Like your gut instinct, your intuition, we are born with it. And I think that a lot of times we become numb to it. So you as a teenager, you're like, no, like there is more, and I know it and I feel it and I choose to believe it and live into it. And hearing you talk about how I'm so exhausted that it's hard to breathe. I just immediately had gratitude for the simplest things of life. Like how often do we think about, wow, I can breathe. Like
sitting on a chair without feeling pain.
Right. I can sit in this chair. Wow. I can stand up. Wow. I can take myself for a walk. Wow. Like I can lift weights. It's truly incredible. And I think so often, and this will be, maybe hit home for a lot of people watching, is like, if you feel like you're suffering through a workout, that's a choice. You can suffer through it, or you can be grateful that your body's capable of it. And so if you think back to this interview, the next time you're like, oh, that's so hard, or it's so hard, think about that it could be that you're not even capable of that. And so which one would you rather have? So I appreciate that, and just wanted to take a moment to appreciate breath in itself and life and movement, freedom.
And that's really what I felt like, a prisoner in my body. Right. And especially given that my body really was my tool, not just in dancing, but in working out and being active. Like I cherished it, and then it was taken again. And that is, if anything, your greatest gift in life is your body. And I know all of us have had some type of negative relationship with it. And we're conditioned to, like, how's your body failing? How is it, you know, either functionally or aesthetically? But like, it's your vehicle that allows you to live. And if you can change from this, I get to move it, it gives me life. How do I take care of it and strengthen it so I can better live my life? Then working out, moving your body is seen as a gift. It's empowering versus something you have to do to get to a certain aesthetic goal. And I'm not saying you're not allowed to have those, but when we better embody, like, how would I feel about working out today if I actually lost the capacity to?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I struggled to walk for 3 years. I had to relearn how to walk 3 times. All right. And just walking, there is not a day, I kid you not, I'll be walking outside or I'll be at the grocery store, because I couldn't go to the grocery store for years by myself because I couldn't push the cart, couldn't load. And I kid you not, at the grocery store, I'm like, everybody, are you seeing this right here? Like, I am here. And then not only that, like, I can carry my groceries again. And you see, you wouldn't see me and know that. And that's the other piece, right? We all don't know what we don't know, because you would maybe judge based on what I look like. Though I also know I don't yet have all the strength I once did. But that power to carry my own groceries, that's also why we work out. Like, to lift things, to be functional in our life, to feel strong and capable, to not injure ourselves when we have to move, or to go and adventure in life. Like, when we see it as that avenue to better be able to live our life, then it's empowering always. And that shift is also what's going to make you keep showing up, even if your weight fluctuates, even if you don't look the way that you want to, even if the journey's taking longer. It's like, man, I'm going to do this gift.
Yeah. It's such a powerful perspective.
So good. One of the things that you said that was profound to me is, had a deep belief to not accept what has been told about my life. And I want to turn it back to the audience. You know, what were some things that have been told to you that have become a part of your belief system? And how is that holding you back? Because you cannot change what you do not confront. And I share this because I truly believe that, you know, the biggest thing that is holding us back is the subconscious thoughts that have, you know, like, created like a garden out of our thoughts, right? You know, for example, you can have 2 people, right? You know, that we're in the weight loss space, body transformation, and all of that. The biggest misunderstanding with this industry, people think that, you know, just work out, you know, calories, all the surface level bullshit, right? When the truth of the matter is that even if I was to actually, like, take 2 people and, you know, feed them like a, you know, whole foods, you know, have them work out the same way, one person is going to reach one level, one person is going to reach another level, because not just based on their genetics, but based on what is happening within their mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, so many times I see people cutting themselves short in life because they're like, you know, number one, they think that, you know, whatever battle they're against, right? Whether it's a battle of, you know, to lower my blood pressure, to drop weight, to, you know, in your case, just be alive, right? We think that just because it's taking long, maybe it's not for us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You guys, imagine needing to fight for your life for 4 years.
And how many
Hold
people,
on. I wanna break it down to you guys. Let's get intimate with this.
While you do the math, how many people would give up? Because it's too much, it's too long. Like, there also is, I think, power in the intention, power in the purpose of it, right? If you're like, well, what life am I going to live? Then there's not a lot of purpose or intention to be there to go through it, you know? And I think that a lot of people misunderstand purpose. Mm-hmm. You can create it. Like,
absolutely.
You can decide what it is. It's not like, oh, I was born on this planet to do this thing. Maybe, yes, you were. Like, you maybe were put here and you're like, dude, this is why I'm here. However, in any given moment, we can choose what our purpose or intention is for something that's fulfilling to us, period. It doesn't have to be some grandiose. You can be like, my purpose for losing weight is so that my 6-year-old daughter doesn't have to experience the same things that I'm currently experiencing in her adulthood. You know, picking stuff off a plate, constantly weighing yourself, criticizing yourself in the mirror, all of these things. Like, you get to choose the purpose.
Yeah. I love that, because I actually don't like that statement. Find your purpose, as if it will just like show up, you know? Yeah. And in that, right? Like, oh, there it is. And it's all right now. You know? Like, I'm like, what? No. Like, and in that, okay, I did find it at a young age. Like, how many 7-year-olds know, like, I was created to dance and want to do it 5 hours a day. Like, I have a 9-year-old now and I can't even fathom her 5 hours a day, you know? So in that, I knew, right, what I was born to do, and I lost it. Okay. And then I got it back and I achieved high levels in my profession, and I lost it again.
By the way, I love So You Think You Can Dance.
Oh, well, thank you. Back in the day.
What season?
6. So back in, it's like, I don't know if you say glory time, but when it was, you know, didn't change.
I probably saw you.
Could have. Yeah. Hair was longer.
You should see our wicked dance moves on our Burn Zone videos.
We're pretty good.
I want to see. Okay, that's a must now. We must put that in there.
May I have this dance?
Yes, please. You might be better than me now at this point.
Oh, come on.
Sorry,
but that's what I want to emphasize to people. You can create it, and you're going to have different seasons of life, because people also, let's say they were like, I once was an athlete, you know, and then now I've got a desk job, or I'm a mom, and like, I'm not an athlete anymore. Well, not in that way, but who are you now? What's your purpose now? Because so much because of what we lost from the past or what changed, we're now so attached to that identity that we don't give ourselves permission to be who we are now and who we can be, right? And evolve, like different seasons of life, right? And that, again, the past and those identity barriers also stop us from, well, I'll never be a collegiate athlete again. Well, no, you won't. But what a beautiful time. But like, who can you be now? What can your body be now? And that's another huge thing that we all have to do, is the only power we have is now, not back then, and not even in the future. So it's like, as far as time goes, and I know, because fitness, and when I was working in it, that's one of the biggest barriers, right? Oh, it's not changing. I'm not seeing results. So it's not working, right? Parts of my illness took 13 years to resolve. 13. Wow. So I wasn't dying anymore, but I had some long-standing ramifications. 13 years. And you better believe I had thoughts sometimes like, is this going to be with me the rest of my life? 5 years, 7 years, 9 years. But I always had this thought, okay, and this is for your clients too. Okay, if I stop working out, I stop nourishing my body the way that I want, I stop doing the mind work to be more empowered. Well, I know what that looks like, right? So if I quit, then I'm going back to where I was. Like, am I okay with that?
Yeah.
And I had to do that myself when I wanted to give up many times. Are you kidding? It was like Goliath every day that I was facing. But it was like, okay, well, I know what it looks like if I give up. Death, chronic pain, never holding my child again, never being able to go hiking with my family or go to the park. Like, I'm not okay with that. So I want to see what's possible if I keep going. Yeah. And while I do that, I'm going to keep my end goal, but along the way, I'm going to celebrate and live in all the progress, because we also get so hyper-focused on the end goal. We're not even seeing where we are. Like, oh my gosh, I just did 15 push-ups. I used to not be able to do one, but it's like, oh, but I still don't have this striation I want. And so we're not even like celebrating the progress and more living in who we're becoming on the journey, because that's why people also, they'll get to their end weight or anything and they're like, it's still not enough. You know what I mean? Because there's still someone else that is better or whatever. And it's like, who are you becoming? You have to like attach that dopamine to the process, to showing up, to the progress. Cause that's how you keep doing it throughout your life. Right? Yeah.
We describe it as deposits and withdrawals, right? Like you follow through with what you say you're going to do. You've made a deposit. It's from an action. It's from who you're becoming. It's from the place of, here's where I want to be. How does that person behave on a regular basis? What is that? Why does that person do that? And so I love that you said that it's, if I stop, what's going to happen? And if I keep going, because yes, we get so focused on a result that we forget what the purpose is. The purpose is not so the scale says a certain number. The purpose is whatever satisfaction you get by doing the actions, because you also don't get confidence by losing a certain amount of weight. Now, for people who have a weight loss surgery, this is not intended to like bash anybody who's had weight loss surgery. The reality is, however, a lot of women have come to us who have had weight loss surgery, regained weight, and because their habits didn't change. And so oftentimes when you don't earn something, you don't get the result you're really looking for. You might get the number on the scale, but if it's the confidence or the self-esteem or whatever that you're looking for, that happens in the process, not at the end. So you need to go through the process to get what you're actually looking for. And guess what? The harder it is in that process, the more satisfying it is when you reach it.
Yeah. And you have to give that to yourself, right? Yep. Because the only like dopamine deposit other people are going to give you is when they can see things that are clearly, right? Like, oh my gosh, you look so good, or blah, blah, blah. We have to intrinsically give ourselves that deposit. Like, oh my gosh, I showed up today, right? I drank that water. Like, I'm proud of myself. I did something hard. I did one more sit up. Like, it doesn't matter. You have to celebrate that, because your brain, my brain, all of ours, wants the least path of resistance. Okay. And the brain has so much it's in charge of to keep you alive, and all the organs. It wants the least resistance in anything else in life, because it wants to conserve energy. Doing things new and different and outside of our comfort zone takes energy from the brain. So the brain is like, no, sleep in. No, let's just have that immediate hit, right? Of ice cream or whatever. Like that's immediate, and it's safe, and it's not asking the brain to do something new. Like the brain that's why we're such habit-based people. And to break that, like, I'm sure people say like, why am I eating? I'm not even hungry. Well, it's a habit, right? When I'm stressed, I go to food, and that's another emotional component. But the brain is going to want to keep you in what it knows and what's familiar. And so if you don't intentionally do that dopamine connection to the process, to the actions, then your brain's going to continue to resist you, versus the brain likes to repeat what we reward. So that's why addiction exists. It's a rewarding behavior that the brain's like, I want to do that again. But we can utilize that same mechanism for the habits we want, but we have to do it intentionally. Like, look at me. I'm amazing. I just did that workout. You know, I just, or even like, I just shifted my mindset. Like even that has to be awarded. Like my brain was going in, oh my gosh, you're so stupid. You're so ugly. You'll never do it. And when you change that and you're like, no, I can do this. Like that needs to also be like, I did that, and no one will see it, but I'm going to celebrate that within myself, because we know all of this is much more impactful to ourselves and meaningful than that number on the scale. It's just, we've been conditioned to give that the greater emphasis in celebrating. So,
yeah. And even if nobody else saw it,
Okay,
Exactly.
I want to give a challenge to everybody in our community for today, and I want to see it on the Facebook group. Celebrate yourself for something that you did today. Find a way to celebrate yourself. Post about it on the Facebook group. Otherwise, it didn't happen.
Okay, I'm also going to do it. Ashleigh, I challenge you to do it too.
Ashleigh, are you a part of our Facebook group?
I don't think I am, so I must get in.
Facebook gives you trouble.
You were having Facebook issues.
I was.
Are you able to get on Facebook?
Oh yeah, I can. It's a whole big thing. It's a whole big thing. I'm working with Facebook right now. I'm logged into one. It's a 2-factor authorization. Do not ever use a third-party authorization app. Just letting you know. Do not do that. That's it. It's a nightmare.
Got it.
But yes, I'll get on there and I'll celebrate.
Okay. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. We'll send you an invite to the community page.
Put I'm in the comments.
Okay. So listen, I mean, the truth of the matter is that Ashleigh, we can hang out with you for 3 hours, and you guys, I'm sure you would probably want to hang out with Ashleigh for 6 hours. Got it. However, just for the sake of time today, I would love to dive a little bit deeper with regards to how, like, your method of how do you flip the switch, you know, from anxiety to peace, from pain to, you know, relief and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Take us through your biohacking method. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish it was a hack. It definitely takes effort, but what it is a process that works. That's what I found was really missing. There's a lot of great knowledge tools, but how do you really change that wiring? Like that program? Because a lot of people, they're like, I'm doing the things. I want to believe this. I'm affirming this. I'm doing the self-care. But like deep inside, I still have this anxiety. It doesn't matter. Like I'm managing it, or I still have these trauma or limiting beliefs. And it's like, how can I not get beyond it? And that's, again, like you said, the subconscious mind. But through our life, our brain and nervous system get altered by all of our experiences, and all the more altered, the more significant they are, the more emotionally challenging or stressful they are, or prolonged, right? Or traumatic, right? And trauma, of course, is whatever the brain encodes as traumatic. And traumatic is just that it really alters it. So someone might be a really positive person who believes the best in life, and then something happens and now their brain thinks through a limited lens, right? And that is trauma to the brain and nervous system. So what I realized, the only way to really make that switch, because we can't change the fact that the brain has the data bank of all, right, is that we have to partner with it in a way that we are getting our system to a place to feel like it can let go. It doesn't have to operate in stress anymore. And again, that stress can be shut down with depression. That stress can be that fight with anxiety. That stress can start manifesting in inflammation, in pain, and chronic illness. And also that makes it hard for people to lose weight, because stress is cortisol, and you're literally putting your body in a fat storing state all day because your system is running stress and your brain's releasing cortisol into your system all day. So sometimes you could do all the things physically, but as long as you're in stress all the time, your body's going to have a hard time letting go of that excess fat, right? So how we do that is step by step. And what I realized is the first half, you have to get your system to a place to feel safe to finally let go, because it will not rewire. It will not accept a new program until it feels it can now let go of the old. And every stress we experience is protective. Your brain thinks it's protective. Yeah.
This is so powerful, because it's like when we coach our clients, before they start to hit their momentum, you know, some of them come to us after like years of self-sabotage, you know, like emotional eating, binge eating, the whole ordeal. And, you know, we have the ceiling fan analogy where it's like, if you're not trusting your body and you're blaming your body, this is the most important part. Because imagine like being cheated on by a spouse for years on end, and finally doing something and like getting roses. You're like, what are you doing?
You're still suspicious.
What are you doing? I don't trust you.
Yeah.
Right? So when we have that moment with our clients where I call it the light bulb moment, where there's just a shift in energy. That's when you know that everything is about to change. And like, for me, that is the favorite part. Like, yeah, I love they dropped 20 pounds, got rid of, you know, blood pressure, medication, all of that. But it's once you know that they're finally starting to get it, it's like, now we can do great things together.
It goes beyond the physical. The transformation goes beyond physical. And when you can see it inside, it's like game on.
Yeah. Well, all real changes have to come inside out, right? Yeah. And if they don't, that's a huge part of the roller coaster with our body, because that inside programming, that inside beliefs will never bring us back to the behaviors that bring our body back to where it was, right? Or because we get too exhausted with just the discipline, because we have to change and shift those beliefs. So it's not such a battle every day, right? Because everybody can do that for a certain amount of time, but it becomes too exhausting, right? Because you're fighting your brain, you're fighting your body, and then it just doesn't feel worth it anymore because it's too hard. Where if you change from the inside out, which takes effort, it takes discomfort to sit in the freaking truth, like of really what you believe, how life has impacted you. Like, that's not easy. All right. Nobody really wants to do that. And we don't really have to nowadays with technology. And that's where it's like, we have to really look like nakedly, you know, at ourselves and like, what am I doing? Like, things have happened to each of us we didn't choose. Like, they're a part of life, but it's our responsibility to then do what we want with it. Right. And the beautiful thing about it is we can. Like, that's why I love the brain so much, is that like, we're all different, right? We all have different personalities. We have different intellect, passions. We have different backgrounds, strengths, weaknesses, but the functionalities of the brain are the same. So like, you hear my story and it's like, oh my gosh, but my mission is not like, oh, I'm just going to inspire you. Look at what I did. It's like, you have all that same capacity. And because it doesn't have to do with anything other than harnessing the brain's power and all the pieces connected to it. And we all have that. And that's like the greatest equalizer of our potential, which is why I love it so much, because you can't say, oh, I can't. Well, you in fact can, but it does take partnering with it. And depending on the person, like myself, my system got hardwired into stress during my illness. And it wasn't that I didn't go and accomplish life, but I was in stress all the time. And that came out in perfectionism. That, like, I cried in school and I got an A-, right? Because I felt like to survive, I had to be perfect. And that
you can relate, drop a P. If you can relate, drop a P.
Right? But here's the thing, that served each of us at one time, right? Like, I survived because I was pretty like perfect in my diligence. But what allowed me to survive that time frame now was hurting me. It was creating stress. And that's what I want people to think about too, is that with compassion and grace, we all developed programs that at a certain time frame in our life helped us survive them, right? And so you need to do it with compassion. It's not just your fault. It's like, okay, what once allowed me to survive that now is hurting me? And how do I start to work through the past so that my system doesn't think it has to keep operating there? Like, what is that protection your brain is thinking it needs to do every day? Because that's what all stress response is: protection. Protection from some emotional pain or some physical threat, something you went through that altered your brain. Those limiting beliefs are protection because it's vulnerable to believe we can be more than we are, right? Because then what if we fail? What if we prove so-and-so right? Like, what if we're not enough? We all combat that. Still to this day sometimes, right? New levels, new devils. Yeah. So you get to a new level and now you have limiting beliefs about going to the next level. So there's a certain acceptance of like, no one's immune to like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm enough. What if I'll be judged? But it's like, but at the end of the day, I can't control any of those factors, but who do I become if I start removing those ceilings upon myself? Yeah.
So step number 1 is letting go. What is step number 2?
Well, step number 1 would be you've got to first observe and become aware of what is holding you. Right?
Okay. Yep.
Because we can't change what we're not aware of. A lot of us know how we react, but we don't know why, right? We need to understand the beliefs attached to it, the past experiences attached to it, the people attached to it, right? Then step 2, we have to start working through it. Letting go sometimes looks like sitting in the crap, like feeling the emotion, facing the person. Yeah, you got to literally sit with it. It's like, have you guys ever heard the analogy with the buffalo versus cows? Okay, so awesome. So when a storm is coming, cows will turn from the storm and move away from it, right? But in doing so, the storm stays with them longer because they don't realize the storm is just following them, right? So they feel like they're getting away, and it's easier, but it's actually harder because they're staying in the crap, right? Buffalo, by contrast, will turn and face the storm. So it's more miserable at first, right? Facing it, feeling it head on, sitting with it, but then it passes over them, right? So it's the only way to the other side is through, right? So we have this type of... That's right. So right. So we have this like strength. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to feel it. Like that didn't change me. I'm tougher than that. And it's like, but that's what keeps you in it.
So good.
Right? So we have to be the buffalo, be the buffalo.
Did I spell it right? I'm so terrible at spelling.
Yes. Yeah. There you go.
Yay.
Go me.
Okay. What's step number 3?
Well, then it's an important to ask yourself, okay, so I see it, I'm working through it. And obviously there's a lot of more pieces to this, but I want to simplify it. Just ask yourself, like, what do I want to be true for my life? Because the limiting beliefs will tell you what can't be true, right? What isn't possible. And you just need to actually take the time to intentionally ask, like, what do I want to be true for my life? What do I want? Not what anybody else, what anyone else says isn't possible. Because I'm going to tell you, I once wanted to punch some family members in the face because they would say to me after all the years in chronic pain, they would say, well, maybe you just need to come to peace that like, this is your life, and I know they did that out of compassion, but I was like, no, and that's what you have to understand is it's going to come from good intentioned people who will maybe try to tell you, maybe this is just your body. Maybe this is just what you can do. Maybe just go get a job or whatever it is, right? That we're all, and you have to find, you can have your own limiting beliefs. You have to always come back. What do I want to be true? What do I want to believe? Right. And then how do I start taking even one action step a day that aligns with that? And then how do I intrinsically award it so my brain wants to repeat it?
Yeah.
Because then you start building this new identity, these new beliefs, and those actions start to reaffirm it as being true. Right. So to simplify, like bioemotional healing is a 9-week process that goes really in depth and works through the subconscious and gives you real patterns how to do that. But that right there, if you actually did that and gave yourself time, like to think about it, to sit with it, to address it, then that's going to have a huge impact on you.
Yeah. And humans are smart. Like, no matter what we want to say about ourselves, like if you think about what our bodies endure and how creative we can be, and when our back is against the wall, what we do to like save ourselves, like we're resilient.
Amazing.
And so when you ask yourself those questions, you might be surprised that if you are open-minded to really saying, like, if I didn't have any limitations, what would I want? And just like, I wouldn't even say go like write it down. Like what
write
would
it down
and say, what proof do I have that these can't be true? Like you can go find evidence, go to Mr. Google and search women over 60 who are as fit as fuck. You know, go search for evidence that the truth that you want, it exists somewhere. So if we're going to make up a story, if we're going to make up a story, like make up the one you want.
Make up a good, you might as well make up a good one.
You're the first one, right? Because history's shown impossible isn't a fact, right? Like we didn't think you could run a 4-minute mile, right? Doctors actually said your heart would explode.
Or go on the moon.
Right? So let's think physical. We had doctors saying, if you ran that fast, your heart would explode. Well, if I had a belief my heart would explode, do you think I would actually push to do a 4-minute mile? Probably not. And for decades, everyone was trying to achieve it. We had coaches and teams all over the world. And then one day on a rainy day in London, Roger Bannister did it. And within 2 weeks, people all over the world were running a 4-minute mile. Yep. High schoolers do it today. Nothing changed physically. Nothing, just this. Now, one person did it. And so our paradigm shift and what was thought to be impossible was now possible. And so maybe you have to create that for yourself, because people always ask me, well, what evidence did you see that you could actually survive? And I'm like, 0.
But it doesn't even have to be. It doesn't even have to be your specific scenario. Odds have been defied time and time and time again. Miracles have happened. People who've been told they will be paralyzed for their entire lives walk, run, work out. Right. People who said like you'll never be able to, create like the airplane, putting hundreds of people in a machine that weighs tons and tons of pounds, flying across to different countries. Like odds have been oceans. Yeah. Like odds have been defied so many times that's the only evidence we need.
Exactly. And so what I just want to affirm to people, if you keep talking about your limitations, speaking your limitations, you inevitably will act in alignment with those limitations, which means you get to keep those limitations.
Yep.
So what do you want? And you are the only one, right, who can start to shift that within yourself. And that is, yes, a responsibility, but it's also freaking empowering, because it's not up to your mom or your dad or your spouse or your partner. It's like, okay, all these things in my life are out of my control. My greatest control is within. Like, what do I want? And I can take responsibility for that and change and shift my life. Like we all can do it. We all have the capacity.
So good. So good. I always tell everybody, of course, everybody's got like aesthetically like different goals and all of that. And, some people in our community, want abs. And, there's so many limiting beliefs from women about abs. It's insane. If I'm a mom, I can't have abs. If I'm over 40, I can't have abs. If I'm a woman, I can't have abs. Nobody in my family's got abs. I can't have abs. I'm like, listen, guys, we're all born with the same anatomy. We all actually have abs. The question that you need to ask yourself is, how far am I willing to go in order to freaking get it? And that goes for anything in life, you guys. And just because it's hard doesn't mean that it's impossible. It's meant to be hard because you had to will yourself for literally 1,460 days to be alive. If you knew that about you, I'm asking the audience, would you have already given up by now? Just use that as feedback, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if this is how far you're willing to go to defy your life, what if I told you that it's going to take you 1,460 days for you to get a six-pack? I don't care how clean you eat. I don't care how many days you stay away from donuts. Would you actually be willing to do it? Because you will act to the degree that you believe.
Yeah.
So good.
Time is passing anyway, right? Like it's passing. We might as well
pursue
pursue. Give it all that we have, and there will be ebbs and flows, and we'll do it imperfectly, but we keep showing up, and we keep showing up a little better. And we don't derail ourselves because it's taking time. Because that really is, I think, there's obviously beliefs are the foundation, but I think the biggest difference ultimately between those who get to what they want and those who don't is the tenacity to keep going no matter the journey.
100%.
Right?
So
because
good.
that's what makes us inevitably give up, because we're so programmed to judge the timeline. Oh, it's been 2 weeks. It's not working. You know, it's been 6 months. And it's like, yeah, it's been 2 weeks. It's been 6 months. Like, give yourself the gift of time, but also, who are you becoming?
Yeah.
Because I would say you would probably say the same thing. No matter where we are in our life, the greatest celebration is who we've become through the journey, right? That's the celebration, not the goal, because who we've become is what allows us to actually step into our life, right? So you got to celebrate that, because that's what also keeps you going. That's all we really all want anyways, is progress. That's the key to happiness and everything else. So if you're not even progressing in your six-pack, you're progressing as a disciplined person, as someone who's building muscles of determination and tenacity. Like, that's what matters. The six-pack is a byproduct of those character building muscles.
You guys, is she speaking ES language or what?
I mean, I knew we were kindred spirits, right? I mean, I'm always in red anyways, as we know. So see, I fit right in with your background.
Drop a yes if you'd like to see Ashleigh in future ES events, be it virtual or in person.
I'd love to.
All right, Ash, thank you so much for being part of this amazing conversation.
Yes, super important conversation. If anybody wants to, you know, potentially work with you or just pick your brain on things, what would be the best place to grab your attention?
Yeah, so my website, my name, which I think you can put in the chat or something, ashleighdelello.com. I have free training on the brain. That would be a great place to start. I have my podcast, Bioemotional Healing Podcast. I have my social media, which is my name, Ashleigh Di Lello. And if you do feel stuck, and you've been stuck for a long time with some deeper issues, right? With trauma or pain or illness or anxiety, like, you can change. Like, you do not have to be defined. And if you go and you have a short video too about bioemotional healing, then schedule a free consult. Because, like, sometimes it takes the deeper work to remove those barriers, as it did for me, right? And some of my clients. And so you're not just stuck or broken. Like, there is a capacity to get beyond. And maybe you're doing all the things and you're still not feeling like you can get there. And that's because we've got to do some of the deeper rewiring, but it's possible. So
good.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Also, by the way, how's your eye today?
Oh, my bloodshot, swollen eyes. I slept 6 hours last night.
So good.
So good. You guys, just so you know, we are doing something really special with Ashleigh and a few other friends in July. So, I mean, that's coming up in July. You'll hear about it when the time comes.
You'll for sure hear
Expect to see a lot more of Ashleigh's presence in the community. Just thank you. Thank you for what you do, for who you are, and for everything that you've overcome, right? Like, one of the things we say is that our mess become our message. And you know, this is truly what this is all about. Blessing people with what we've overcome.
Yeah. Thank you for being a permission for people to think big and live big. So appreciate you so much, and looking forward to the next time that we get to connect in or out of the community. And so we'll see you guys.
NES Army, thank you for joining us today. And also on the Facebook group, we want to see you. How are you celebrating yourself for something that you've accomplished today?
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Much love, everybody. Be great.